Always first, always reliable. Talking business, politics, and issues of the day with Alberta industry leaders. Power Talk with Greg Pike.
Hi, I'm Greg Pike. We're here today with Suzanne West, CEO and President of Imaginea Energy. Very good to see you.
Thank you.
So Suzanne, tell me a bit about how Imaginea got started.
The genesis of Imaginea is a bit of a long story, so I'll try and give you the short version. I got myself invited to Richard Branson has a leadership gathering on his private island in the Caribbean, and it's all about inviting academics and entrepreneurs to how to make a bigger difference in the world. And it was just a really amazing, life-changing week for me where, I realized, in a more poignant way that what we are doing in the world is just not sustainable. Like, we are just consuming our planet in an unhealthy way, and that just kind of became unacceptable to me. And then to realize as an entrepreneur, to sort of have my juices get going that, I think there's a huge opportunity that we've been missing of how do we create amazing profits and not wreck the planet at the same time. That this sort of space in the middle of and that has more permutations and combinations of solutions and depth and breadth of opportunities. So as an entrepreneur, it's like, wow, I think like we've mostly been relegated to the world of or, crazy tree hugger or greedy capitalist. But the real important part for me out of that week was, Richard asked us at the end of the week to declare what we're going to go back to our communities to do to make a difference. And as an fairly accountable person, I knew I was going to do whatever I said. And so it was a very soul-searching week for me. And that kind of Friday morning meditation, which is a big part of my life, I just really knew sort of in an instant with some very crystal clear clarity of what I needed to do. So I came that morning and told Richard and the group I was going home to change my industry. And so I came home and I wrote a manifesto called Project Step Up because I told myself I had to step up my game. And it's about kind of a conceptual document of how do we create a new kind of oil and gas company that values planet, people, and profits, like in the world of and, not one, not some of them, but all three. And how do we do that? So it was really the genesis of this exciting thing that we call Imaginea, which stands for Imagine a New Way of Doing Business.
So why is oil a dirty word these days, and how does Imaginea plan on changing that?
Oil, sadly, in some circles, is a dirty word. I mean, in terms of, I'm not a big fan of labeling things either right or wrong or good or bad. We should recognize as consumers, as companies, as countries, of where we are negatively impacting our environment. The oil industry or natural gas industry impacts it in a lot of ways, from land usage, from air, from water, etc. It is very impactful, whether we want to label that as dirty, but we do a lot of things as human beings that are not that helpful to the environment. We throw away a lot of stuff. We drive cars. There's lots of things that we do. I'd rather us focus on solutions rather than labeling things as and trying to point the blame that it's somewhere else. If we are, as inhabitants on this planet, in my mind, we should all care about what that is, and we should all figure out how we all do a better job. And I'm going to do my part.
And how does Imaginea focus on sustainability and community development?
So Imaginea, as I mentioned, is premised off this mindset and mandate of and. So everything that we do, from drilling wells to buying paper, is with this mindset that we need to do everything that honors all three. That it needs to honor profit, it needs to honor people, and it needs to honor the environment. So we look for, it's really been exciting though at Imaginea, because I would say, half the time when we are now looking at things through trying to do things in a better way, invariably they go together. So if you improve your energy efficiency, which is associated with your operating costs, you improve your environmental footprint. Quite often when we improve our environmental footprint, it has to do with improving energy efficiency, which improves our profits. They go together. They're quite good together. Sometimes we have to be more creative and sort of smash them together in a way that's more innovative to get the and, but it literally improves business in every possible way. That this Project Step Up, to which has kind of four, it's what we base these and concepts on, but it has four main tenets of we have to step up our creativity. We've just got to think different. We can't solve the complex problems of the world using old ideas. Like, we just have to be more deeply use our ingenuity as human beings, which is a fabulous gift that we've been given that we don't use as much as we probably should. We have got to step up our collaboration. We've, in my mind, been mired too much in this hyper-competitive, environment. We are better together. We can make, rather than this fixed pie mentality, is to create this sort of abundance mentality saying, there's more for all of us if we can solve problems together. The other one is, we need to step up our commitment. Like, we have to just more deeply want a better future. We can't just hope for one. We can't want somebody else to do all the work to do it. We've got to all sort of find that in ourselves as saying, yes, I want a better future for my generation, for the next 5, 7 generations. And then the last part of Project Step Up is, we've got to step up our courage. We have got to do the things that are the right things to do, not the easy things, not the convenient things. We've got to just really dig deep and do the things that are the next 5, 7 generations will look back in the history books and they will thank the people that had the courage to do something different and saying, no, this is not cool what we're doing. And we've got to do that. So we bring all of that sort of passion of making a difference, not just for Imaginea. Imaginea is going to be successful. I know it in every cell of my body. But our greatest contribution will be when we show that it's possible, that you can have that you can have great profits and not wreck the planet at the same time, that we can have better businesses that are full of more opportunities and ways to improve the way that we're inhabitants and stewards of this planet. And when we can show that other people will want to do it too. That will be our greatest contribution as Imaginea.
Right now, the oil and gas industry in Alberta is in a slump. When and how do you predict us pulling out of that back into a boom where we were about 5, 6 years ago?
I probably have a different answer than other people, which doesn't make it right or wrong. I'm not assuming it's going back up. Okay. If it does, great. It's something I don't necessarily have a lot of control of. I look at it as constraints improves creativity. It's like, I have to figure out how to not just survive, but thrive at $35 oil. It absolutely is possible. Now, do I have to be more creative and more tenacious and more disciplined and et cetera? Absolutely, but we can do that. So we're assuming that we just have to disrupt ourselves even more so that we can thrive at $35 oil. And we come in and we walk in the door today and I have no energy for a pity party, like none. I just want to spend my energy in figuring out how do we create profits at these levels and do a better job. We have to just be way more disruptive. And I could spend an hour here telling you ideas that we are working on about how to do that. Now, is it radically doing things different? Absolutely. I got some crazy stuff that we are. So one of
a few examples of these disruptive.
My biggest one that I try to tell people too. It is a tragedy to me that Canada is not absolutely rocking the world in sustainable development. I mean, like rocking it. We have one of the most beautiful countries in the world. We have every checkbox to which who can do this. We have educated workforce. We have availability of capital. We have stable government. Like, check, check, check. And that is not our reputation at all. Not even remotely close. That is a tragedy to me. As opposed to, wouldn't it be cool? One of the things we like to try in our big high dream for Imaginea, there's a narrative that all hydrocarbons are bad. The hydrocarbons which we produce that are used for fuel in combustion vehicle engines absolutely pollute the planet. That has got to go. The planet can't sustain that. Whether that's 10 years from now, 100 years from now, I don't know that. But there are billions of dollars being spent by really smart people that are trying to figure out cleaner energy sources. If you think about it, the energy source that we use in a combustion vehicle engine is wildly inefficient. Like, only about 30% of the energy is translated into forward motion. Like, that's actually kind of a crazy thing, even just forget the planet, from a just energy efficiency perspective, that we have these precious molecules of energy and now we only translate 30% of them into actual useful. That's a crazy thing. We've got to get better than that. Just from, shrinking resources, more people on the planet, we've got to figure out more efficient ways to do that. People will figure that out, absolutely. And as soon as they do, fossil fuels are not the fuel of choice, they're the fuel of default. And so in terms of, look at Blockbuster, look at Kodak. If you don't look at the changes that are happening in the world and you don't evolve with those and continue to maintain being relevant, you may go the way of the dodo. Whether you like it or not, that's just part of business, is to recognize those externalities that are there. So for us, one of our high dreams is to create this separation that absolutely, I am in huge favor of we shouldn't be using fossil fuels to burn in combustion vehicle engines. It's inefficient and it's polluting. The hydrocarbons, though, that we produce that are for useful products, plastics are going to be a huge important part of the future. Carbon fiber is going to be an increasingly important building material. We have chemicals. There are lots of things that hydrocarbons that Mother Nature gave us. Hydrogen and carbon are two very important molecules of the future, and we produce them. That's a really important thing. So our high dream is that we produce hydrocarbons with no pollution, no emissions, and no use of fresh water, and that we use them only for clean energy or clean feedstocks. That is a cool high vision for us. And in terms of, wouldn't it be cool from a Canadian perspective that as potentially fossil fuels, they will go the way of the dodo eventually, I don't know how long, but as those go away, that all of a sudden the only hydrocarbons that people want to buy are the ones made in Canada, because that's how we do it. And rather than going from being vilified for dirty oil and whatever else they talk about us, some justified, some not, is that we become the country to which we produce hydrocarbons that the world wants. That would be very cool. If we could, we need to change our mentalities from this, older, linear, Newtonian, Darwinian thinking, which drives a lot of, my industries and many industries here. We should be like the Silicon Valley of the North. We should be this hub of innovation and creativity and just creating such amazing changes in the world. We absolutely have a great future. We just have to want a different one, and then we have to try.